Great,
right.
thanks, Yana.
Yep. All right. So again, welcome. This is the North Star Black Cooperative Fellowship. We are recruiting for next year's program, 2023, 2024. And Nexus, sorry, Nicole, you
Oh,
can
no, go
go.
ahead.
Okay. So Nexus Community Partners, which is the organization that we are part of, it's founded in 2004, originally Pain Lake Partners. So it started as another organization that has turned into Nexus. And our mission is to build more powerful and engaged communities of color by supporting community building initiatives that expand community wealth and foster social and human capital.
And so really Nexus, just, an overview of the organization before we really dive into North Star. Like Liana said, was founded in 2004. And our three focus areas are authorship, leadership, ownership. In the authorship space, we really take time to figure out like community engagement efforts, especially community engagement efforts that are led by community members, where they get to make the decisions, are paid for their work. And so that's where authorship really drives the work. We have leadership, which is another fellowship program. It's a 7-month BIPOC training for folks that want to be in boards and commissions around the city and state. They're in year 10 right now, but they've had incredible folks like Ilhan come through, like in the very early cohorts, and other elected officials too. So it's a really incredible program, just to make sure that there are perspectives and voices of us at the table or at the place or in the park or wherever folks are meeting. So when there's impacts policy-wise to community, we get to make those decisions and we get to inform some of those processes too. And then finally, we have ownership, which is where North Star is. About 5-6 years ago now, we really switched ownership to focus more into cooperative work. It was really inspired by Dr. Jessica Gordon Nembhard's book, Collective Courage, A History of African American Economic Thought and Practice, where she talks about this history of Black cooperativism, citing Harriet Tubman as the general of cooperators, talking about the Underground Railroad as a form of cooperation, and just really talking about how as Black folks, we've always cooperated, it's in us. And so, and what would have these cooperative efforts look like in the US. And then we also have additional work at Nexus. We have ownership that focuses on conversions, startups, real estate investment cooperatives. And then most recently, our new work is the Open Road Fund, which is a $50 million investment that will be going directly to Black folks in Minnesota, North and South Dakota, where they'll be eligible for $50,000 grants, age 14 and up, descendants of those that were enslaved, to really figure out and to rebuild the wealth that was stolen. It's not reparations, but it is a reparative program that really thinks about like what wealth looks like and how can we rebuild wealth in these 3 states in particular. So North Star was founded in 2017. It was founded by that wonderful person with the green dress there, Danielle McCauley, and LaDonna Redmond Sanders. Like I said, it was really inspired by the book Collective Courage. There was a reading club it started off as a reading club and then, evolved into this cooperative space. And since then, we're approaching year 7. So this will be cohort 7. We've had a multitude of cooperators come through, credit unions, artist co-ops, the art of mothering co-ops, and folks just wanted to be engaged with cooperatives because that's what they practice in their daily life. And so that's how we've been around since 2017 and have grown and evolved and changed. When the program started, it really did focus on individual ideas. So folks could come with whatever idea they had for the co-op and then work through it in the six-month space. And then in 2021, we focus more on housing co-ops, land trust, investment co-ops, just kind of recognizing what we were seeing in the Twin Cities with developers coming in and taking up space. And so like, what would it look like if we had the tools to be able to buy up our own property or buy up the block? So that's kind of how we focused. And now we're switching into collectives, cooperatives, and land trust. And I'll talk about that too soon. But I will note too, that was the last group picture that we took together. That was pre-pandemic. Since then, we've been taking individual pictures with cooperative groups. So I do love this picture because it's just a reminder of, you know, when we could be in space together and just collect, create, eat, just be in community together. So I just wanted to note that.
So what is the North Star? So as Lee shared, it's a 7-month fellowship focused on Black American cooperative economics. North Star is centered on the history of Black cooperative economic thought and practice and reclaiming our legacy in this work and continuing to build. So this year we are opening it up to all types of cooperatives, collectives, and land trusts. And we in recent years have expanded from just serving folks in Minnesota and the Twin Cities, but we've had folks in other states. Like this past year, we had someone also in Philly. We had a cooperative group in Georgia / Vegas. And so we're seeing that this work, we're able to reach, you know, different folks and have a cohort that is more national in scope. So we teach Black cooperative economic, local, and national history. Since we were meeting virtually, able to connect with speakers all across the country, which is exciting to get to build those networks and build up the Black cooperative ecosystem here. Some of the topics that we discuss include analyzing and rethinking capitalism. That's probably one of the highlights. I would say each session really is a highlight, but that one is in particular is a real important and intense session that we have Dr. Rose Brewer come in for. We also use Black feminisms and intersectionality to frame our work. And this work also supports and networks new Black co-op enterprises and their leaders. So really just being able to have a co-learning space with folks who have their cooperative idea or who've already started working, and being able to come together to have that co-learning, but also drawing on different speakers and getting that foundational learning.
Get an idea who's been part of the cohorts over the years. We've heard all types of co-ops, worker-owned co-ops, housing, artists, investment co-ops, land trusts. Really, folks come with whatever ideas they have and then just work through them through the fellowship. We don't limit it because we know that we are expansive, and the work that we do is expansive too. And so we just figure out like what exactly folks want to do, or what people want to do, or how they want to be engaged, or what they're thinking about. And some of these cooperatives have changed over the cohort. For example, in the previous cohort, we had a group of sisters that thought they wanted to do a land trust. Oh, sorry. Is it still hard to hear me? Okay. In last year, we had sisters that thought they wanted to do a land trust, but after engaging with the work and speaking to some of the presenters that came, realized that they wanted to do an investment co-op and really work in purchasing property. And so these change over the years, and we make some space for that creativity and just learning and flexibility and fluidity, because learning definitely informs like how we move in the space. So we've had 6 cohorts. We just graduated our 6th one in May. 97 cohort members. Our North Star Black Cooperative Fellowship was really centered on Black people and people that of African descent. Because our curriculum, it really focuses on that. I always say North Star is very spiritual, because like when we have a bunch of Black people together, it is a spiritual space. Like it ends up being that because of some of the topics that we talk about. Going back to the slide before with Liana, like, rethinking capitalism, we talk about like how money like impacts us, or how credit and all of these things. So I think innately it's just like a space that becomes very special, and also a space that is held with care because of the topics that come up and the experiences that people bring into this work. So Black-led co-ops. In 2020, we did change the language because we started inviting groups of cooperators instead of just individuals. And we learned that it was easier, well, not easier, but it was, there were some cooperators that had multiple different racial identities. And that's okay, but we value Black-led work. And so we could have folks that identify with very different racial identities, as long as the work is Black-led and Black-centered, because that's the space that we still want to continue to hold. And then in the space, we've had majority women identified, a few male identified folks, gender non-conforming or gender non-binary, and LGBTQIA folks. North Star is very much an intersectional space. Because we are not a monolith, and we show up in different ways and we exist in different ways. We try to make sure that that's also held in the space as best as we know how as facilitators.
All right. So as Nikuli was sharing, we've had some great facilitators and guest speakers. This is Dr. Rose Brewer, who leads the Rethinking Capitalism session, and that is typically just one whole session dedicated to that. But North Star is hands-on. We use popular education, drawing on culturally significant traditions and practices, the art of making a sacred space. So recent years, I want to say since it started, I may be wrong on that, but some of our first session, we've had storytelling with an elder who recently transitioned in our community, Auntie Beverly Cotman, and that was a sacred time just to set space and really come back to that, the importance of, storytelling and having griots that share, and that collective wisdom being shared. That's definitely a practice that we hold dear. And so just lifting her up and her family and the impact that she's made. But we had LaDonna Redmond Sanders, one of the co-founders, come. We just speakers all over. We've had Noni Session from EB Prec out in Oakland join us to talk about governance and bylaws. So just a wealth of different folks that share their knowledge and expertise and hold space with us. It's been really special and transformative. And also our own colleagues, Danielle Mkali, also one of the co-founders, has come to talk about Black feminisms and other ways of lifting up this work. So truly special.
And I will just add that also this is a co-learning space for us too. So we're also learning so much from the fellows and the wisdom that they bring to the room. And so just want to make sure that we make the point of acknowledging that too. Just recognizing, the geniuses in the space. I'll speak up. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm sorry. Okay. Next.
Okay. Thank you for that in the chat. Maybe it's my end. I just want to make sure people are getting the info. Thanks.
So this year, we're opening it up again. Instead of just having a focus on housing and land trusts, we'll be focusing on cooperatives, collectives, and land trusts. And so the difference is that with collectives, just having a group of folks that are working together on a certain entity or organizing together. So it could be like an artist collective, a farm collective. Maybe they don't want to become a nonprofit, or maybe they do. Maybe they want to establish themselves as a cooperative, just by recognizing that there's a lot of organizing work happening in our communities nationally, and there are collective groups that are holding this work. And then cooperatives, which essentially it's a group of folks that come together to provide a service or good. So it could be a housing cooperative, It could be a grocery store cooperative. It could be an artist cooperative. And then trusts or land trusts, where the organization basically buys the land and removes it from the speculative market to provide a service or good to. And so that would always be affordable, and also you'd always have ownership of the land. And so that could be commercial land trusts, which we're seeing now pop up too, or residential land trusts. And then finally, investment cooperatives, where folks get together to pool their money for a certain reason, whether it's to buy up a building, buy up land, have a money lending circle. And so it's really open to however you're viewing cooperatives, or whatever lane or entity you feel like you fit into. And if there's overlap, then that's fine too. And the reason we're opening it up again this year is, like I said, there's in Minneapolis, St. Paul in particular, there's definitely been a transition in energy from like being responsive to the pandemic or the uprisings that happened, and people finding healing and being together in spaces again, or being reinvigorated by the work that they're doing. So we just kind of wanted to open it up and acknowledging that, but also to really mirror some of the work that is happening at Nexus with the Open Road Fund, or with the Shared Ownership Center that is really working on startup co-ops, real estate investment co-ops. So we're kind of mirroring what's happening, what we're seeing here, and hoping that this open aspect kind of draws a bigger crowd to this work, and more people are able to see themselves reflected in this work. Oh, okay.
I think you went through it, so I mean, yeah. Keep moving. Sorry about that. All right. So fellowship expectations. Fellows are expected to attend all the North Star events and Saturday sessions, complete assigned readings, and cooperate with their fellows on their respective co-op final presentations and initiatives. Fellows should anticipate that this is an 85 to 100 hour commitment of their time. And fellows are provided a small stipend to support their participation in the fellowship. The amount of $1,000 is dispersed in 2 payments at the beginning and end of the fellowship. So in the next slide, we'll go over those dates, but we have our North Star sessions on Saturday mornings, usually about once a month. There's a few, I think, that are twice. And then we have Black study sessions, which we have about 3 scheduled for this next year. And those are actually open to community for free. So ways that we can engage in community and share about this work and kind of go deeper in some of the topics that we're covering. So it's a little bit about that.
And then I'll just add to, with the fellowship expectation, like the 85 to 100 hour, some of it is definitely like in like the engaging in sessions, but this is why we want cooperative groups. We know that we're all human, and sometimes things happen or we can't make it. And so making sure that there's another cooperative member that can help hold that space if another co-op member is not able to make it. And that 85 to 100 hour really comes from the sessions, but also really engaging with the work outside of the sessions. So it could be one-on-ones with community members. It could be your cooperative group coming together to figure out like what path you're on. And so I just don't, just wanted to make sure that was held. And I'm not sure if we added it in the slides, actually. One of the other ways we do support the fellows is we're always engaged, we're always here, happy to talk, like us at North Star, our colleagues in community wealth building or in other spaces. And then we also continue to support fellows once they finish the cohorts in May. We have an alumni fund. We recognize that 7 months is not enough time to start a cooperative, and also recognize that there is still systemic barriers out there. And so if folks do want to continue on with the cooperative work, we're happy to help support that, whether it's paying for a lawyer for the bylaws, paying for a graphic designer for the website or for whatever materials, paying for an advisory committee's time to be able to meet to put this work together, because this work will take time. It won't happen overnight. I just want to note that other ways we've supported alumni is with funds for, there's this group in Wisconsin that have land. They'll be doing a capsule campaign. And so we've helped them provide some funds to help figure out like what that capsule campaign will look like. The Cooperative in Georgia, we helped them buy a water pump, or is it a water pump? So that they could get water on their land. A well. Yep. A well, so that they could get water on the land and be able to provide water to the livestock that is currently on the land. And so we just recognize that, yeah, there are systemic barriers that still exist, that will continue to exist, especially for Black folks. And so how can we be more, figure out some ways we can contribute to the fellows' vision and mission as they continue to build this work. And so this is kind of what it looks like for the dates. We'll be kicking off during Cooperative Month, which is in October. And then we'll be going until May 15th, which is graduation. Liana talked about Black Study sessions. We have Black Study sessions that are open to community members, where we kind of dive deeply into like previous topics. For example, we had a Black Study session about like Kwanzaa and cooperation and what that looks like and the practices. We had a Black Study session about like building Black community wealth and what that looks like. And then probably my favorite study session was the last study session, which was about Black creativity and collective care, which Liana organized. And there was journaling and sound baths and movement and just taking time to really heal the body, be in our body. And it was just recognizing that we're coming to the end of our North Star. We spent 7 months learning together. It was the beginning of spring. So how can we have like an awakening and a rest? And so that's kind of like what our sessions look like.
So the application process, what we're looking for are folks that are committed to Black economic cooperation, be a member of a Black-led cooperative or have an idea of one that you would like to start. Also, North Star is welcome to folks of all racial backgrounds that are a part of a Black-led effort. And Black-led to us means Black folks are decision makers and leaders in the effort. Groups of 2 or more committed to their cooperative idea/initiative or already established cooperative, and all members from one cooperative who wish to participate in North Star submit an individual application, commit to attending all the North Star sessions and completing the fellowship. And the deadline to apply is August 16th, 2023 at 11:59 Central Time. So I'm going to stop sharing. If you don't mind pausing the recording while I shift gears, that would be great. And we'll actually pull up. All right. So this is the application. We just, first we're open to 18 folks who are 18 years of age or older. We ask for just some kind of contact information and some demographics just to kind of know who we are serving. The only required ones we have are, I guess, age, pronouns, race, but the rest are optional for folks to decide to share. We also want to make sure that folks can fully participate and have access and accommodations that they need. So since we may be a national program serving folks outside of the Twin Cities in Minnesota, our sessions in the past have been virtual. So just making sure folks have access to high-speed internet, have a laptop, and if you need those things, sharing that so we can help connect. And also just any other accommodations as well, as like dietary restrictions in case we do meet in person, or anything like that. We have the program dates, as well as the orientation days. And then here at the bottom, just those interview dates. When we do close the applications, we'll be interviewing folks August 29th, August 30th, and August 31st, and just kind of finding out also how you heard about us. All right. And then here we have those narrative questions. This is kind of the heart of the application, just to really know who we're meeting. And I'll just read through them briefly. So the North Star Black Cooperative Fellowship is centered on the history of Black cooperative economic thought and practice. NSBCF centers Black people. We honor the legacy of people who share ancestry of enslaved Africans in the Americas and place value on their legacy of cooperative economics and collective care. Would you please discuss your connection to this history and legacy and how you value their cooperative economic efforts? Next, what is your cooperative's name? And then we are only accepting groups of 2 or more cooperators that are working towards the same effort. Please list your cooperative partners below. Please provide a list of all the cooperators in your group who will be attending the North Star Black Cooperative Fellowship sessions. Please list the cooperative's advisory committee if you have one. Will the cooperative's advisory committee attend the sessions? Please tell us more about why you're interested in the North Star Black Cooperative Fellowship. Who have you been working with in your community? And for this cohort, NSBCF will also accept non-Black fellows who are working in Black-led cooperative efforts. To us, Black-led means that there are Black folks involved in making critical decisions about the direction of the cooperative and are accountable to the co-op and the board if in place. Please describe how your effort is being led. Who are the Black cooperators in your work and how long have you been working together? Let's see. What motivates you to learn about Black cooperative economics and why are they important to you? Just checking the chat here. Okay, cool. Have you been involved in a cooperative, collective, or land trust before? If so, what type of cooperative, collective, or land trust? What are the benefits and challenges of that experience? What is your idea for a cooperative, collective, or land trust that you would like support for? Share how far you are in the development of this idea. And what does support for you and your cooperative work look like? And then lastly, just please provide a reference, a person who believes in your cooperative work, name, email, and phone number. So those are the narrative questions for the application. I'm gonna stop sharing here and getting back to the presentation. All right. And now we are opening it up to any questions that you all may have.
I saw some in the chat that I started answering, but if you'd like more, I'm like typing on my iPad. If you'd like more of an in-depth response, I'm happy to. Yeah, like I said, we'd love to stay connected. Like there's a special place in my heart for Black cooperative developers. Like we need more because yeah, only we can really hold the space the way we want to. So yeah, I'd be very happy to learn more about the work that you're doing in Philly and see how we can engage with North Star and just be in relationship too. And then the other question, and welcome. Thanks for joining us. The session will be recorded too, so if you'd like to go back, please do so, but I'm also happy to answer any questions. And then, yes, you don't have to belong to a cooperative. You could have a cooperative idea, we are happy to have early cooperators in the space, of folks that have been cooperating for years. We just ask that there's a group of 2 or more of you that apply to be in the space. Yeah. Are there any other questions? I feel like we should talk about Ella Baker for a second, because there's a photograph of Ella Baker, and she was a cooperator too. But yeah. Cool. Maybe we'll just leave it for a second for maybe a last minute question. If not, we'll close out. And we do hope that you apply if you're definitely interested in being part of North Star. There's our email. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. It's all the same. Yeah, we'll be here to answer any more questions or walk through applications if that's what you'd like. If you want to like think your idea, it just has to be an idea. It doesn't have to be like a business plan. If you would like to, if you, I don't know, want to buy a store to have a vintage clothing or affordable clothing or whatever, that's your idea and it's a rough draft, we're happy to work through it in North Star. So it can just be an idea that you have, and we'll work through it together. It doesn't have to have a business plan if you don't feel like you're there yet. Also, business plans for me are overwhelming. So yeah, we'll give you some of the tools and resources to kind of go through that too. You're welcome. Thank you so much for coming. And yeah, like I said, we're here. So thank you all for joining us. I do have that email, so we'll follow up most likely next week, since this week is kind of getting busy and it's the end. But yeah, thank you so much, y'all, for coming. Appreciated having you in the space and hope to see you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Yeah, you too.